So we were saying in the previous verses, the divine virtues which were being enumerated by Lord Krishna to be practiced as a sadhana. They are called as Jnana Sadhana. That is to say, for the good knowledge which you have acquired, for that knowledge to take root in you, and for you to get established in the truth essence of that knowledge, then one should also studiously cultivate certain sublime spiritual virtues, and in the absence of which enlightenment will not take place, or the God experience will not take place. Therefore, they are called as Jnana Sadhana, which are meant to be practiced and followed by the human race or by the spiritual aspirants. Now, the Bhagavad Gita, time and again, in many a chapter, describes these spiritual virtues which have to be observed. You may call it spiritual ethics. And they have been enumerated in many sections of the Bhagavad Gita. And they are to be practiced and cultivated. So here also, now, he says in the verse number 17, Yo na krishyati na dveshti, na sochati na kankshati, shubha shubha parityagi, bhaktiman yaha same priyaha. That bhaktiman means the one who has got a loving adoration towards God. Any person who has a loving adoration or who adores God with all his heart must also naturally have in possession or cultivate rather godly virtues or godlike virtues or certain virtues which would make you godlike. So those virtues get time and again discussed and explained in the scriptures, and they are not to be neglected. So therefore here also he says, Yo na krishyati. That is to say, when he is not elated or extremely happy and joyous when he receives something which is pleasant and nice. So, Yo na krishyati, he is not overexcited upon receiving something good and favorable to him. Na dveshti. And also, in case he receives something unpleasant, he is not dejected or depressed by that. So, therefore, whatever comes your way in life, whatever you receive in life, in the course of your human existence, whether it is pleasant or unpleasant, one should learn to receive them with a balanced state of mind without getting overexcited or depressed and sad about it. Because both will come to a person. So, therefore he says, a person should cultivate the state of inner balanced way whereby he receives and is able to digest all forms of things which come to him. Na sochati, na kankshati. Na sochati, he does not grieve over the losses that he may have in life. Of course, part of life is to lose many things. It is good to lose also. And quite often, because people get attached to them. So if you are too much attached to these properties, attached to things, then what happens is, in order to give you an education in life, you may have to go through a harsh experience of losing it. You may lose your land, your property, you may lose your beloved ones. So that's a loss. So during these moments, one should not extremely grieve over it. Of course, you can shed a tear or two once in a way, it's perfectly all right. But to grieve over it and lament over it over a period of time is not a very desirable thing. So therefore, na sochati. Such a person should not over-grieve over the loss of things and loss of anything. Na kankshati. Nor does he desire extremely things which he has not obtained. There is a passion in the person to obtain certain things which he does not have. So he has got a great deal of desire to obtain it, and in the absence of which the person is not comfortable. So that extreme desire also, nas kankshati, a person should not extremely desire, passionately desire something. But if it comes in your way in the course of your life, it's perfectly all right. In the course of your life, you may lose many things. In the course of your life, you may also gain many things. So that's in that way, you must learn to receive things in the world. Shubha Ashubha Parityagi. And then at the same time, Shubha Ashubha. Shubha means good karmas. Ashubha means bad karmas. So this person renounces or gives up the performance of unnecessary good karmas, which will bring about punya in your life. The result of these good karmas, you are doing these good karmas in order to acquire punya. And you refrain from doing bad actions also, not to incur papa or sin. So this person is now indifferent to both, to the unnecessary acquisition, shall we say, the unnecessary performance of good karmas or bad karma or bad actions. He is not interested, because by either of them, through the good karmas that you do, you acquire special good karmas, you acquire punya. And by special bad karmas or actions, you acquire papa or sin. Now why is it that one should not go after this punya and papa? There is a reason for it. It is a combination of punya and papa, merit and demerit, which brings you into this world, into this planet Earth, a combination of these two, punya and papa. And then if you do something you want special punya to do something, therefore you are doing something to acquire special punya, then what happens is, you will go to the heavenly regions. Heavenly regions through that punya which you have acquired. Now after all, all religious traditions come and tell you that you should go to heavens, you should aspire to go to heavens. But that is not the purpose. After all, you must know what heavens is. If you understand and know what heavens is, there are two different things. One is the heavens, the other is the state of moksha. There are two different things. But the religious traditions don't talk much about moksha, to attain moksha, but they talk about going to heavens. And they try to promote this in all religious cultures. Whatever be the religious tradition, they want to induce people to go to heavens, and people also feel that it is good to go to heavens. But people do not understand what is heavens, and what really transpires there. Heavens is nothing but a pleasure resort. It is like going for a holiday, wherein you have your enjoyments. It is like going to Monte Carlo or to the Riviera or to Las Vegas. To be more precise, heavens is nothing but another form of Las Vegas. So, of what use is it to go there? So therefore, and in order to go there, you have to acquire some special merit for that. It's like you have earned your holiday. You have worked very hard for 11 months in a year. And the 12th month, you want to go out, take a holiday. Take a holiday. So in order to take the holiday, you have to expend and use some of the income that you had acquired. And you waste it there. You waste it there. Similarly, also, if you go to the heavens, and you will mostly go to the heavens only if you desire to go to the heavens. Just like if you want to go for a holiday, you will only go for a holiday only if you desire to go for a holiday. Otherwise, why should you? So in the same way also, those who desire to go to the heavens, they do certain special good actions, and the merit or the punya which they acquire out of that, they will go to the heavens and expend that punya or waste it. They waste their punya, just as much as you save some money and utilize it for your holiday. So here also some part of your punya is saved and you waste it in the heavens. Then after that punya is over, you like a big drop back to the planet Earth. Then once again you live here and acquire punya and go to the heavens and come back. And in case you do some heinous crimes in the world, then you also go to Papa, experience the horrors of Papa, you go to hell, experience the horrors of hell, and then once again come back here. So therefore he says, a wise man, a person with a certain amount of wisdom and good understanding, will neither aspire to waste his punya to go to the heavens, nor would he perform papa to go to hell. So that is why he says, Shubha Ashubha Parityagi. He just is not interested in going through these actions in the world, which get promoted in many or most of the religious cultures and traditions of the world. He is indifferent to it. He is not interested in this special punya and papa which you are supposed to acquire, you are supposed to acquire. But then on the other hand, as you go about living your life, your good life in the world, and perform your duties and functions in the world in a righteous manner, then what happens is, you acquire naturally a merit or punya, and this punya or merit that you acquire will be utilized in the form of, shall we use the word, to obtain the grace of God. The grace of God will come to you, and it will be something which will grace you and help you to get to God, which is the purpose of life. So that is why it is not at all necessary or desirable to do specific good actions, which is punya, which will give you merit in order to go to the heavens. So these wise people are not interested in this, punya and papa. But punya naturally gets accumulated and acquired by you as you keep on living a noble, righteous life. And this punya will help you as a cleansing process. It will clean up your mind, it will clean up your heart and conscience, clean up your heart and help you to get to God indeed, which is the purpose of life. So therefore, Subha Ashubha Parityagi, Bhaktiman, such a person is a Bhaktiman indeed. And he does not do anything with an ulterior motive. Even if you do these special actions, you are doing it with an ulterior motive. So this person, that's naturally his actions, his social functions and duties, he goes through it. Yeah, so such a person, Same Priyaha, he is very dear to me indeed. He is such a person who lives with his wisdom. Then he further continues. Samaha Kshatraucha Mitrecha Tata Mana Apamaneyoho Sitoshna Sukha Dukkeshu Samaha Sangha Vivarjitaha. Then this person is Samaha Kshatraucha Mitrecha. As you keep on living in the world, you will find that you will acquire and get acquainted with two types of people. One is the good people will become friendly with you, and the bad people in the world will become also inimical to you, hostile, and they will be your enemies too. You'll always get, no matter where you go, it doesn't matter which part of the world you go. Even in ashrams, you get this situation. In the ashrams, every ashram in India is loaded with all types of characters. And the good sadhus, the good ones in the ashram, good sadhus in the ashram, will be friendly with you. And the bad ones in the ashram, there are many, many bad ones in the ashrams, bad sadhus of all types. They will be hostile to you, unfriendly, because they know that they should be like you. And since they are not like you, you are an embarrassment for them. And therefore, they don't like it. So therefore, they want you to go out of the ashram, because amongst a bunch of bad characters, they don't want a good person there. It's an embarrassment for them. So they tell a good sadhu in an ashram, hey, this is not your place to stay here. I'm telling you practical truths and practical realities. They tell him very frankly, this is not your place. Go away from here. You are an embarrassment for us. So very rarely will you come across a single good sadhu in an ashram, because that is not his place. You may think that ashram is a place meant for good sadhus, but it is not so. So therefore, no matter where you are, in which part of the world that you are going to come across both the good and the bad people. So therefore, most of the good sadhus choose to live independently alone. That's why they are like that. And you don't easily come across them. They are living in little huts somewhere here and there indeed. So sama shatraucha mitrecha tata mana apamanayoho. And then so these people they have got samaha shatraucha mitresha. So they are of the same nature, the same disposition towards those who are hostile and unfriendly with them, and those who are also friendly and good with them. So for both types of people, they have got the same disposition. They have the same attitude, samaha. So they are equally disposed. The wise man or the spiritual person is equally disposed towards the good people and the bad people who come across in his life. The bad people become your enemies and the good ones become your friends, and he is of equal disposition to both of them. In the sense that he neither hates them. Just because somebody hates you, it doesn't mean that you hate them. If somebody is hostile to you, it doesn't mean that you also become hostile to them. No, you always maintain a friendly disposition and character. In fact, there is a nice dialogue which took place between Duryodhana and Dharmaputra, Yudhishthira. Now, Yudhishthira or the Pandavas was a very noble and virtuous person of righteousness, while Duryodhana was of evil disposition. So, and they lived in the same palace as children, and they were brought up. And then Duryodhana once told Dharmaputra, I have hated you all my life. And the classic reply given by Yudhishthira was, Dharmaputra was, why? I have always looked after you, I have always looked upon you like my own brother. He was his cousin, and he looked upon him, he said, he had never hated him. He looked upon him like his own fellow brother. So you see the difference. So that is why even if the other person hates you, you don't hate him back, but you are kindly disposed towards the person. And then Duryodhana also asked him, how can I kill you? So he told, Yudhishthira said, this is a way by which you can kill me if you want to. If you want. So in this way, these people they are of the same nature towards those who are good and badly disposed towards them. Sama shatraucha mitrecha tata mana apamanayoho. So in the same way also tata mana apamana. As you keep on living in the world, you will always find mana, honor, and apamana. Apamana is dishonor. Some people will honor you and some people will dishonor you. This is always natural in the world indeed. So you have got to come across this in life. So when you receive both honor and dishonor, it should be the same to you. You are not disturbed or elated by the honor that you get, or disturbed by the dishonor you get. So this is what is called, when you are able to absorb both these situations in your life indeed. When you begin to absorb these opposites of life, then what happens is you become internally strong within you. You are not disturbed within yourself. So when you are not disturbed within yourself, what happens is you are developing soul force. You need soul force to realize God. You must need the inner strength. So when you go through the hardships of life and the unpleasantness of many things, and you are able to absorb the unpleasantness and the pleasant things without being upset by them, then what happens is internally within yourself, psychologically, you become inwardly very strong. And becoming very strong, in the English language, it is called as soul force. And in Sanskrit, it is called as Atma Bala. Atma Bala. Atma Bala means soul, self-force. And you need that. So you need this soul force or Atma Bala within you. You've got to acquire this strength within you to get out of this world indeed. This world which is enticing you and fascinating you and has captured and has captured your attention and has made you get involved with this world. And in order to obtain your release from this world, you need that soul force or Atma Bala. A weak man cannot attain God. You must be very strong from inside. No, psychologically and mentally and intellectually, you've got to be very strong, only a strong person. So that is why the scriptures declare and say, Na balahinena labhyaha, a person who is balahina, who is weak, devoid of spirit, of strength, of moral and spiritual strength, cannot attain God, that godly state. So therefore you've got to become strong from inside, from within yourself indeed, from within. And you should be able to absorb the difficulties and vicissitudes of life without being upset and unaffected by it. So this strength comes to you. So therefore, mana apamana, you will receive both of it in your life. And you should not get affected by it, by the honor and dishonor which people give you. You will get that in life. Then, Sitoshna Sukha Dukkeshu Samaha. Sita and Ushna. Sita is cold and Ushna is heat. So, you are going to have winter and summer. So, when it is cold, you should not fret and fume that it is cold, but shiver it out and okay, go through it. And if it is hot, you sweat it out. But do not get psychologically disturbed by the heat and the cold which you have to experience, because they are natural phenomena. They come round the corner every year. It's a very natural process. So not to get upset by, not to feel uncomfortable by heat and cold. So Sitoshna Sukha Dukkeshu Samaha. So Samaha means they don't lose their poise and balance. Samaha. And also Sukha and Dukkha. So Sukha is joy and comfort, and Dukkha is sorrow and discomfort. You are going to go through this in life. You are going to receive joys and sorrows, comfort and discomfort in life. And you are going to go through all of that. That's part of your life. So when you go, you are such a person also absorbs these joys and sorrows of life, and then without being disturbed by them, he receives them in the same way, Samaha. And Sangha Vivarjitava, and is free of Sangha. Sangha means unnecessary attachments. So because people have a problem of being attached with each other, attached to things, attached to people. And people are also used to living in a community. That's another problem. They're not comfortable in living by themselves. Sangha, they need a Sangha, a group to live with. Sangha Vivarjitara, so they become free of this also. So they prefer to live alone by themselves. So Sangha Vivarjitara. And at the same time, they are also not attached to whatever they are associating with also. So whether with things or with people, they are not attached to it. So you've got to learn these things in a gradual way. So that is why death comes to people, so that you learn the separation. the hard way. The hard way the separation comes about through loss and bereavement and death. It comes about. Then he continues and says, Tulya nindas tutir mauni santushta yena kenachit aniketa sthiramatir bhaktiman me priyo naraga. Tulya, and he is the same for what? Tulya nindas tutihi. So in the world somebody will criticize you. Even if you don't deserve criticism, somebody is going to criticize you. And so that is Tulya Ninda. He takes both criticisms and stuti also, and praise. So somebody will also praise you. Even if you don't deserve it, somebody will praise you. So you know that it is only an artificial empty praise. And also Ninda also, they may criticize you even if you don't deserve it. So when you receive unwarranted criticism, negative criticism, you should not get upset. No, also when you receive praise from people, you should not get elated and happy also. So they receive both, because that is the nature of the world. There is a nice story with respect to this. How you should be of the same nature, because that is the nature of the world, to criticize you. Even if you don't deserve that criticism, that is the very nature. So you have got to learn to receive. And this is what happened to Lord Shiva once. So once, Lord Shiva and Parvati, this is the mythological stories. They were living, of course, in Mount Kailas, wherever it is, Mount Kailas. And then, of course, Vishnu and Lakshmi were living in Vaikuntha. One knows where Vaikuntha is. No one knows where Vaikuntha is, but they say Vaikuntha. So there's Vaikuntha there somewhere where Lord Vishnu stays, and Lord Kailas where Lord Shiva stays. So of course now these are gods, celestial gods, and they make their mutual visits to each other. Their mutual visits, courtesy call as you call it. So now it was a turn. So previous to that, the courtesy call was made by Vishnu. By Vishnu and Parvati, they made their own courtesy, Vishnu and Lakshmi, they made their courtesy call all of a sudden one fine day. And then Lord Shiva was seated in his cave, in his natural dress. So anyhow they received. Now it was the turn of Lord Shiva and Parvati at another date to pay a courtesy call to Vishnu in Vaikuntha. So now Vishnu, he is very stately attired, very richly attired, so is Lakshmi too. While Shiva is a naked fakir, and then of course Parvati had to live there, had to stay there. So now what happened was, people in the neighborhood were criticizing Lord Shiva. They were saying it is all right for Lord Shiva to live in this cave, in the heights of the mountains in cold regions, in a rough floor and without any furniture and things like that. But it is not right for him to keep Parvati there in such harsh conditions. He's a bit cruel. It looks as if Lord Shiva is a little cruel to allow Parvati to stay there with him without any worldly comforts and amenities. So now Parvati is hearing this. So Shiva didn't mind it. Parvati was hearing this and she was troubled by that her Lord Shiva is being unnecessarily criticized, though she is quite comfortable to be with Lord Shiva there, but in whatever condition. But the people are criticizing Lord Shiva, that he's a heartless man. That's what they say about yogis and sadhus. The first thing they say is, you're a heartless person. You have no heart. That is why you're left all of us and gone away. You're a heartless parent. Now you see Parvati is there, you are neglecting her. You don't care for her comforts. So this sort of disturbed Parvati. So Lord Shiva said, well, I have to educate Parvati about this matter. So when the opportunity comes, he will explain it to her. So now it was their turn to go pay a courtesy call to Lord Narayana, Lord Vishnu and Lakshmi in Vaikuntha. So they were about to get ready, and then the Shivagana said, now look here, since you are going to meet Vishnu, you have got to go in state. You just can't go on foot like this. So what we will do is, the Shivaganas said, the Shivaganas mean the attendants, you see, who are around that area. They said, no, we will take you in state in the palanquin. in the palanquin. So, all right. So Shiva was now seated in the palanquin. He was seated in the palanquin. Now they are proceeding, they are carrying the Shiva Ganas are carrying Lord Shiva. And now they are saying, they are criticizing the people on the way. Look at this Lord Shiva. He is so happily, he is a hefty, strong person seated in the palanquin. The poor Parvati has to walk. Poor Parvati has to walk. So they are listening to this criticism. And then Lord Shiva said, now Parvati, you sit in the palanquin and I will walk. I will walk. So when Parvati now sat in the palanquin, then what happened? Once again people were now criticizing Parvati. Now look at her. She is going seated in the palanquin so nicely, but Lord Shiva, she is allowing him to walk on the rough stones. Yeah, though she pretends to take care of him and love him, but it doesn't seem to be so. So now they are hearing that. Then Lord Shiva said, now look here, we will both sit in the palanquin. So when they both sat in the palanquin and the Shiva Ganas were carrying them, now the people on the way are saying, now look at that couple. They have no mercy upon the Shiva Ganas who are carrying them. So what it really means is, no matter what you do in the world, people will be always there to criticize you in some form or the other. So therefore you have got to understand the nature of the criticism and then accordingly not be upset by it. So therefore tulya ninda stutihi. So therefore when you live in the world also, you are going to get criticized and get the abuses as well, and some praise to ninda stutihi. And so therefore you have got to receive it in the same way without being upset. Tulya ninda. You must take it with a pinch of salt, whatever people talk about these things. Tulya ninda stutihi. Mauni. And then you have got to be a Mauni too. Mauni means Maunavan. That Mauna, Vak Mauna, there is one Vak, what is called as, there are two forms of Mauna. One is Vak Mauna, wherein you don't talk. That is also called Mauna. And there is a greater Mauna, which is called the real Mauna, which is called Mano Vak, Mano Mauna, wherein your mind, you stop the operations of your mind and stop thinking. That is a real Mauna, wherein you keep mentally quiet, silent. So therefore Mauni. So these people, they train themselves to be Mauni. That is to become mentally quiet. And do not talk unnecessarily. They don't talk unnecessarily. They talk in measured language. Whatever is necessary to talk, they will talk. Otherwise, they will not. And then also at the same time, they maintain that mental mauna or that mental silence. It is only when you maintain this mental silence will you be in tune with God. So that's the forerunner for that purpose. So Mauni. And then Santushta Yena Kena Chit. And they are quite content. Santushta, content. Yena Kena Chit. By whatever comes to them. Whatever nature, whatever the world provides for them or the nature provides for them in life, whatever comes to them in life, Yena Kena Chit. They are quite content with whatever they get. Whatever they get, they are quite content. That's a character. So, and so, Santushta, Yena Kena Chit, whatever. So now the word Santushta has come in two places. Earlier also he said Santushta. So Santushta in the earlier instance he says Satatam Santushta. Satatam, always, there the word Satatam Santushta means always happy. Have a happy disposition or a good disposition. Not to live life with a sense of, with a downcast face, as if life is a huge burden and with sorrow. No, that's not the way to live life. But the way to live life is to happily live life, joyously live life. Then on the other hand, he says, Santushta Yena Kena Chit. And you are content and happy with whatever you get. Whatever you get in life, be content. There is a nice story about this. The minister had told the king that in your kingdom there are a lot of lazy people. King said, no, it doesn't look like it. I'll let you know. So the minister made an announcement. Tomorrow, in the states, from the treasury of the king, you can get all what you get to your heart's content. You can get to your heart's content. So now there's a catch there. A man who works hard will not go there. A man who is so only who will go there? The ones who are lazy guys, they will say, we'll get something to our heart's content. All right. So these lazy fellows, good for nothing fellows, they all went there to get something to their heart's content. So they were called into the inner chambers of the treasury one by one. And then when they came there, the minister said, yes, now they have come here. Now for the one who has come here, give him a good nice blow. So he was given a blow, one blow, two blows, and then he asked him, is it enough? So the man said, yes, pour them, it is quite sufficient. So, and now when he said, yes, pour them, it's quite sufficient, the persons outside heard this. They said, oh, he's getting sufficient to his heart's content. So when he came out, the fellow from outside also asked him, did you get? So the fellow who he has just come out said, yes, you also going, you will also get. So all the fellows, one by one, they went inside and they got to their heart's content. Heart's content. So that is why it is said that when you should be content with whatever you get, but whatever you get. So santushta yena kena chit. Then aniketaha means is a homeless person. The real hermits and the real yogis of India, you don't know from where they have come, because they will never tell about from where they came from. So you don't know their previous address. In the olden days, that was the custom. Today they want your identity. But in the olden days, no such thing was there. Your identity was the dress itself, and that was sufficient. So Aniketa, and these people kept on wandering about and moving about. Therefore, they had no fixed abode. No fixed abode. Now they are here and now they are there. So Aniketa, one yogi was asked in North India. He was staying he had gone to a village and he was staying in that village. And then he said, I'm leaving tomorrow morning. I'm leaving towards the southern direction in the morning. But then, the next morning, the villagers found him moving in the northern direction. So they asked him, you said you are going in the southern direction, but we say you're moving in the northern direction. Yes, when I was moving in the southern direction, the wind was blowing and it was covering my face. My hair was being covered. The wind was blowing and the hair, he had long hair and it was covering his face. So he turned directions and went in the opposite direction. So for him, it didn't matter where he went. Aniketa, because he's a homeless person. He can go anywhere. Sometimes these people also, they may go to a railway station and get the first train which comes, they get into it. It doesn't. And when the next station stops, they just get down and walk away. So that was just their way of life, because Aniketa, they have no fixed abode. Aniketa. Stiramatihi. Stiramati means they are firmly established. Stiramatihi. So their mind and with their mind, they are firmly established. So that is why they said Aniketa. They are not, Aniketa means they are homeless. But really their real home is the divine. They are established in the divine. Since they are established, Stiramatihi, their mati, their understanding and knowledge and everything is now firmly fixed and in the divine itself. That is their abode. Their abode is the divine within themselves. So therefore, Stiramatihi, and they are firmly established in that understanding and in that state. Stiramatihi Bhaktiman me priyo naraha. And such a Bhaktiman is so dear to me, he says, amongst people, such a one is very dear. Then he concludes this chapter by saying something very interesting. Yetu dharmyam amrutamidam yadoktam paryupasate Shraddha Danaha Matparama Bhaktas Te Ativa Me Priyaha. Yetu Dharmyam Amrutam Itamruttam Yatoktam. So this, which has been just now said, Yathauktam, as it has been taught and said during the course of these few days about is said to be Dharma. This is what is said to be Dharma. Dharmyam Amrutam. It is this which is said to be Dharma. All that we have gone through in this particular chapter is Dharma. It's the real Dharma. So Dharmyam Amrutam. And this Amrutam means it is immortal. Mritam is dead, Amrutam is immortal. It is the immortal Dharma. It is called as Immortal Dharma because this knowledge will, of the immortal of Dharma, of the immortal nature of the divine, will help you to settle down in the immortal divine. So that is why this is called as Sanatana Dharma. Sanatana means eternal, eternal Dharma. So the real word shall we say, for the spiritual knowledge of India in the ancient days was not Hinduism. The word was Sanatana Dharma. Sanatana Dharma means a Dharma which is based, or Dharma means a way of life. A way of life which is based on the Sanatana, on the ancient principle, on the eternal principle. The eternal principle is the divine which always exists. So this knowledge will help you to get settled in the eternal principle. The eternal principle which is so Sanatana, which always is, which always exists. And in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna was trying to reinforce and explain the idea of shifting his center from the ego center to this eternal divine principle. Eternal divine principle, eternal principle which is the divine, to shift his center of being and functioning from the ego center to his divine center, which is the eternal principle. This eternal principle is Sanatana, and that knowledge and understanding is said to be Sanatana Dharma. So when you are able to shift your center of existence from your ego's base to your divine base, to your divine center, then you are said to be a Sanatani or living the Sanatana Dharma. This is the real Sanatana Dharma, which people fail to appreciate. So Sanatana Dharma, there are a lot of misconceptions which goes on in our Hindu society, and people feel that Sanatana Dharma means the worship the worship of the gods and the demigods and the rituals connected with that is said to be Sanatana Dharma. That is not Sanatana Dharma. But the real Sanatana Dharma is wherein you get established and stabilized in the Sanatana, in the ancient eternal principle which is the divine. The divine which is there within you and around you. So keeping that as your basis of functioning, then thereafter you go about living and functioning in the world in this, with this knowledge which has been given to you in the Bhagavad Gita. Because in this knowledge which is there in the Bhagavad Gita is the way, the practical way, because everyone is looking for the practical way to God, to be established in God and to experience God. And that way is being shown in the entire Bhagavad Gita. And the living, the understanding and the living of this is said to be Sanatana Dharma. So that is why he said, Yetu Dharmyam Amrutam. This immortal Dharma or this eternal Dharma, which has been either Yatha which has been just now mentioned, and Paryupasade. And Paryupasade means which has been mentioned, the one who practices this. One who practices this is said to be, and practices this is said to be my bhakta, my devotee. Now you see who a real devotee is. the real devotee of God is one. The real bhakta or the real devotee of one is one who tries to get himself stabilized in his in his divine nature as the Atman, and then follow these teachings and practice these teachings which have been enumerated in the entire Bhagavad Gita and also in the Upanishads too. No? So such a person is said to be a real devotee or bhakta of mine. Pariyupasade, and Pariyupasade also means who cultivates it, cultivates this discipline and practices this discipline. Yasad with Shraddha Dana, with imbued with a great deal of faith, Shraddha with a great deal of faith, he follows it up. Mat Parama, and intent on me, and totally intent on me. Mat Parama, Bhaktaste, te ativa me priyaha, and such persons are very dear to me, not dear to me, very, very dear to me. Ativa me priya. Only such people are very, very dear to me indeed. So those who live this are said to be the spiritual people who are truly religious in the right sense of the term. And these are the ones who are really bhaktas, who are real devotees of God, because they devotedly practice these practices and the virtues which have been enumerated, and they go through the disciplines which have been mentioned and lead a pious and noble and righteous and good life according to the scriptural injunctions which have been given here. And such persons are very, very dear to me indeed. So therefore the Bhagavad Gita is said to be nothing but Dharma Upadesha. It's a teaching on Dharma, the Sanatana Dharma. So Sanatana Dharma means the Dharma or the nature of the divine. So based on the divine, it explains what the divine is and how to get established in the divine. In the course of your living life, as you keep on living life, gradually, you're not asked to get established in God immediately, but by and by little, you have been advised to get established. And the course of your life, as you keep on practicing it, gradually you will begin to settle down in your God nature, which is the purpose of life. Om Tat Sat.